I do want to express my very strong general support for heroes pay. I think it's important, and I think it's important enough in a city like Irvine that we take the lead. I appreciate your taking the lead, Mayor, bringing this forward. We have so many people out there who are really at risk, who are suffering, who are doing the hard work to help pull us through from beginning to end. I would note that it appears to me that none of the establishments that would be covered here would be experiencing any significant economic hardship. The fact of the matter is, large grocery chains, stores, the pharmaceutical chains and so forth, all of them have experienced remarkably high profits. They are the unintended, but nevertheless, economic beneficiaries of this terrible pandemic. So thank you again, Mayor, and I'll turn it back to you.
Hi, my name is Casey Chambers, and I'm an essential worker. I am a cashier, and I have worked for Albertsons for 15 and a half years. The Albertsons, which I work at, gets a lot of foot traffic because it happens to be located next to two hospitals, Hoag Memorial and Kaiser Permanente. I feel essential grocery workers like myself should be receiving hazard pay. The $4 hazardous pay is especially important because we are being exposed to the virus through the thousands of customers. Customers are entering the store without face coverings. Customers are not properly wearing the face mask, leaving their nose exposed, exhaling the breath in the same air I have to breathe. The position I hold places me face-to-face with customers and hand-to-hand money transactions every single day. When I clock in, I have to go through a temperature check, sanitize, and do my PPE in accordance to the mandates from my employer. This is hazardous job. We don't know who can possibly be carrying the virus, and I'm interacting with them daily. As an essential worker, my job is to help the community here in Irvine. We're also proud to serve the thousands of hospital workers who come in because of the close proximity. But we're here at risk while grocery and drugstore employers making record-breaking profits in a pandemic. For these reasons stated, I urge the city of Irvine to take a look at the profits of these employers and consider this ordinance. We have not received hazardous pay for months. They stopped when many of my coworkers were getting sick. We saw highest levels of infections of COVID-19 at the beginning of this year. We're still being exposed. We're still getting sick and potentially exposing our loved ones at home. Thank you for your time. We ask for your support.
Hello, my name is Marissa Marquez. I am the floral manager at the Orchard Hills Pavilions here in Irvine. I am fairly new to this industry. I started with the company in June. My previous job was actually in healthcare, and honestly, I feel that I am at more risk in my current position as a grocery worker. The necessary steps to protect ourselves from COVID-19 sometimes aren't taken seriously by the public, and it puts everyone at risk. Sadly, we lost one of our team members to COVID last month, and that was difficult to deal with for a lot of people. It's tough that not everyone takes the proper steps seriously. It puts all of us at risk and even our families at risk. I actually live with someone who is immunocompromised, and I am constantly worrying that I may bring something home to him, all because of customers who keep fighting against the mask policy, which has been in place for almost a year. It's very tiring for us employees. Temporary hazard pay would help us all tremendously. It shows acknowledgement of the risk we take every day, and it also provides extra financial support during these difficult times. It would be helpful to have that pay to put aside in case of unexpected issues or emergencies that may arise in our lives. And I really appreciate getting the chance to talk to you guys tonight, and thank you for your time and support. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Hi, my name is Christopher Tando. I'm a cashier over at Albertsons off of Quail Hill in Irvine. I've been with the company for over 5 years now, and I just wanted to take the time today to talk about why hazard pay is important to not only myself, but to my colleagues as well. Obviously, we all need to eat to survive. As an essential business, Albertsons has stayed open during this pandemic since the lockdown first started almost a year ago. Grocery stores need to be open to the public, and of course, we need employees to run them. Our job is very important, especially during these times. We directly interact with hundreds of customers daily, some who even refuse to wear masks, which puts us in highly dangerous situations. We've already had several COVID-19 cases at our store alone. The essential workers in Long Beach and Los Angeles have been receiving extra hazard pay for months now, so why not Orange County? Orange County is highly populated. Now that we have 2 stores closing in Irvine, the remaining stores in the city will be seeing an increased amount of customers, which will put us at an even greater risk. Albertsons is one of the leading grocery store chains in America, and I'd like to believe they could afford hazard pay and have the backs of their employees. Hazard pay not only helps essential workers during these times, but ensures customers will have a business they can continue to love and support. So on behalf of my colleagues and I, we urge you to please consider and vote for this cause. Thank you for taking the time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Ortiz. I work at Albertsons in Irvine. I'm a meat manager. I've been doing this work for over 30 years. I'm proud of the work I do. My family is proud to be in this line of work, as my son and my daughter also both work in Irvine. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we were made essential workers because we are working in the front lines. We work so that families can still shop for food, water, and other essential items, which means we, the workers, are risking our families and both health. We help the company triple their earnings so they can afford to compensate us. I lost a good friend of mine, Alex Gutierrez, meat manager from Pavilions in Irvine and Culver. He infected his mom and dad, and all 3 passed away from COVID. My son also works with him at that same store. Luckily, he tested negative for COVID, but how long are we going to stay this lucky? I lost my cutter during Christmas and New Year's for 2 weeks due to COVID, and this is every store in every store. We are burned out. We deserve to be compensated for our risk and our hard work. Therefore, we ask the City Council to please help us with our hazard pay of $4 an hour increase, unless you too think our risk is not worth compensating. Thank you very much for listening.
Good evening, City of Irvine. My name is Rosemary Tapia, serving the community at my 3rd Ralph's Irvine location, and proudly to be with the company for the last 32 years. Since the beginning of this unforgiving pandemic, it has been a whirlwind of struggle, of fear for not only myself, but for many of my fellow coworkers. As my title as price integrity, I am constantly on the sales floor, and the amount of times that customers who do not wear their masks properly come close range of me while I'm trying to keep my distance from them is countless. In early December, I did come up in contracting the virus. Unfortunately, it brought it home to my family, which almost led to hospitalization of my husband. The cases at my locations are still rising and leading into big issues of being understaffed, and others are starting to feel the fatigue from it. But we're still striving to serve the community with excellence and with the strength that the whole pandemic is affecting us workers. While the companies are profiting more during this time, let us not forget who keeps running these stores. This temporarily hazard pay is very necessary because at the end of all, we're putting ourselves out there, risking not only our health, but the health of our loved ones that we go home to. Thank you for taking your time to listen.
Hi, my name is Prince Selvage. I am a local 324 worker. I do work at the Irvine Portola store, the Pavilion, and I'd just like to contribute a little bit of my experience perspective. So I know that I'm one of the many grocery workers who are well aware of of the huge profit increases that have occurred and continue to occur as a result of the pandemic. Most of us are extremely grateful to have kept our jobs at a time when so many of our family, friends, and acquaintances have not been as fortunate. While we can be grateful, we can also be acutely aware of the risks that we're taking every day. As a result of those risks, an elevated level of anxiety and stress has come to exist that didn't exist before. Stress over longer hours due to being short-staffed. Stress over not having ample time off due to being short-staffed. Stress over the uncertainty and the duration of these conditions, because we really don't know. We don't have an idea how long it's going to last. So, most importantly, the stress over the amount of exposure we all experience every day and the potential for us to become sick ourselves, and the risk of infecting our families and loved ones and others. I recently lost a coworker that was mentioned before at my particular store, knowing that he also lost social experience all due to COVID. The emotional stress of that alone is overwhelming. And yet we cope with it, and we continue to do our jobs, and all the while watching our companies reap the benefits of higher profits. So I definitely feel that hazard pay would be only fair, especially since many of the workers in our industry we struggle to make ends meet as it is. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Eric Almaguer. I started working for Pavilions on Portola in Irvine 5 months ago. Since then, many of my coworkers have caught COVID-19. One of my coworkers and both of his parents died from the virus in December. I've watched my coworkers grieve at work for the loved ones they've also lost. We wear our masks, we take precautions when we go home to our loved ones, and even with all these steps, we're still exposed and risking our lives. It's sad to see there are still customers who come into our store refusing to wear masks, approaching us face to face, failing to care for the safety of workers and our families. This type of behavior is what we encounter daily. I've had to fill in at stores nearby because more workers continue to get sick and are understaffed. Every day I ask myself if today will be my turn. Working under these conditions is made even worse by the lack of vaccinations for us workers. I thank you for listening. I'm an essential grocery worker, and I ask that you support this ordinance.
Hello, City Council members. My name is Richie. I work for Pavilions in Irvine. We are still dealing with a large number of people who are confrontational. Last week we've had people throw things at us and spit on us. We just want some help. We are overworked still. Any time someone is sick, we're picking up extra hours, and we're doing it with a smile on our face to serve our community. We would greatly appreciate you voting us and helping us out with this hazard pay. Thank you.
I want to thank the people who testified on both sides of this matter. I also wanted to just respond a little bit. I understand the testimony that came in that sort of runs along libertarian lines and talks about a competitive economy and so forth. I just think it's not real world. I mean, real world, what is going on is terrible, terrible suffering among frontline workers. And that, of course, includes these workers covered by this ordinance. And, you know, at the start of this pandemic and for some time, there's been a lot of talk about shared sacrifice. This is about shared sacrifice. Well, the fact of the matter is the risk, the sacrifice, it's not shared. It's not shared equally. It's very disproportionately falling upon the poor, the frontline workers, who happen to be, incidentally, disproportionately non-white. And I think it's time to kind of ask ourselves, are we really committed to shared sacrifice? And are we really committed to ameliorating the pain and suffering that's out there? What kind of a community are we? This is a local ordinance. What kind of a community are we? And I think the adoption of this ordinance says volumes about the kind of community we are and whether we really mean what we say about shared sacrifice and also about our commitment to, as we adopted a resolution when we last met, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is about the equity part. This is straight on a test of our commitment to the equity part of our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I support this motion. I support this ordinance. I happen to believe also we may not be sued here. I think if there is an inclination to sue, a knee-jerk reaction to sue, I would suggest that these big box grocers and others take a good hard look at themselves and a good hard look at what we would think of them in Irvine if they would force us to defend this ordinance. Thank you very much, Mayor.